Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of my Wing Gundam Zero Honoo project. In front of us now is the current state of this project. Last time we primed all the parts that I had already cut out, and today we're just gonna quickly assemble this kit and see how it looks overall. I already see a bunch of parts that will need some touching up before we seriously go into painting, but first we gotta see how it looks overall. Aside from assembling this part, we're also working on the base. I'll show you that later, but first let's get to taking these parts off the skewers that they're mounted on so that we can start assembling. Let's see, there's a bunch of blue tack on the inside of this, which means I need a little help getting it out. Okay, give me a moment while I move these skewers out of my face. We're just gonna stuff them in this jar. Now let's change our camera angle a bit so we can really look at. Oh wait, there's still a few more pieces stuck to this tape. Okay, so now we can move this giant block of styrofoam out of the way and adjust our cameras. Okay, we're going to go into close focus so that we can see the details of what we're working with here. Which means we should probably lower this camera a bit more. Okay, there we go. Lined up. Okay, here we go. So, let's see. Here are the instructions for the kit. Let's see. Wing Gundam 0. Oh no. Purified. Yeah, let's keep them in front of me while I try to put this together. Where's the first page? Here's the first page. You see that? Guess it doesn't really matter too much. Okay. Can't see that and close-up of things at the same time. That's a bit too much. So, one of the funny things about this process here is that I've went and cut out every piece ahead of time, which means that you're no longer stuck to the sprues and labeled. So this is going to be a game of Where's Waldo, essentially trying to find every piece and assembling it. Not only that, normally you'd be able to identify parts based on color. We can't even do that anymore for some of the parts, or it'd be difficult at a glance because they are all gray now. Oftentimes I would actually, yeah, oftentimes I would paint a kit part by part, but I wanted to try this whole view sort of thing where we have the entire thing primed so we wouldn't know holistically how it feels before we even start the painting process. I think it goes like this. This should be the front. It's kind of cool seeing the details I scribed onto this kit like this for the first time, because up until now they haven't received any paint, so it was a little hard to see some of the details. This is part of the motivation for wanting to do this. I can also see that there's some areas that need a little bit of sanding to look smoother, like this area looks a little bit lumpy. Maybe it'd be better for you guys to see this instead. Well, maybe once I see someone show up, I'll ask what you guys want. You know what? I'm just gonna take all these pieces across my desk. That would probably make it easier to rummage through them, rather than keeping them all in this small little tray. You really tell that some of these places I tried filling in did not turn out smooth. But that's why we did the primer step. Or we covered it all in surfacer first, so that we can see that. It'll also later help us tell whether or not our paint had proper coverage. And let me know what areas I need to make sure to hit when I finally do paint. This one piece. Half out. There's supposed to be a piece that goes in the little circular area, right? I wasn't supposed to put that on just yet. I was supposed to put the piece in the middle first, but we're gonna skip that because that one will be impossible to remove if I commit to putting that one in. So let me grab a brush. Here's my dusting brush. Here we go. To be able to tell if it's dust that's stuck to the surface or just sitting on the surface, because if it's stuck to the surface, I'm going to need to sand it down later and get rid of it, or maybe just gently try and knock it off using a toothpick or something later. Sometimes I find the part immediately, sometimes I struggle to see if it exists at all. Where was this B27? It's supposed to be a gigantic part, but I can't find it. Oh, there we go. I just didn't recognize it. So this one has a backplate that will cover it almost entirely, but we don't need to put that one in because I know how that's going to look. That is obvious, but also it will be very difficult to take off if I push all the way in, and it won't really impact how it'll look at the end of the day, at least when I'm doing the spot check later. I need to find the little thrusters that go in the pegs back here, little holes back there. Hello, Azu. How are you doing? I finally finished making my macarons today, which is why I didn't stream yesterday, because I was busy making macarons, but I ended up taking 2 days to make these macarons. They're really cute. I'll put pictures of them on my Twitter later. I only barely finished before the stream. Okay, so something worth noting is that a little bit of the peg for these thrusters will show, depending on the angle that we look at it. So I want to make sure to cover that up, make sure it's painted later. Let's do the face now. There's always a fear at this step that I inadvertently lost a part, or rather, lost a part without even realizing it. I see. Getting stuck in traffic sucks. I know this will be a part of the face later, so I'm separating it out now. This is like building a puzzle, but in 3D, like, you know, looking for the pieces and having no idea whether or not they are going in the right place. Nice. Okay. So, now that this has primer on it, it's apparent that this edge needs a bit more sanding later. And there's a pockmark here, there's a hole, so that needs to be filled, like underneath the V-fin right here. Painting it all in a single solid neutral color helps reveal those sort of little imperfections that need to be fixed. Although what's kind of funny is that because I plan to make this a weathered build, it doesn't need to be perfect. But there's a part of me that wants to make it look immaculate for a little bit before I weather it. I also think that fully gray builds, like just the build with primer on it, look really interesting. Alright, next piece. So now we're doing the arms, I think? Yes, it says arm. Just pulling out all the arm related parts I can recognize immediately while looking for the main one. Which way is this supposed to face? This way. Oh, my sister likes the macarons. Spent 2 days working on them, but I'm still not happy with the way they turned out. I think they could still be better. I wasn't able to do the macarons the way I wanted them, sadly. I had to figure out how to make them as best as I could. One of the saddest things about getting better at something is the realization partway through of how much more you have to learn, or how much more that other people are capable of doing. It's the realization of what your own limitations and shortcomings actually are, and being unable to see those until you've developed enough knowledge to just even be able to understand what can be done, or to just understand the difference between you and someone far more experienced. But after going through that phase, you realize, like, at least I realized that it's part of the fun. Like, there's a certain point, I think, as a beginner, where you don't even know how to learn, because you don't even know what the next steps are. You need to develop enough knowledge to even understand how to proceed, and that's where things can start getting exciting for you. I feel like learning to do a lot of new things, I've experienced that a lot, and I'm starting to get to a point where I'm just, like, used to being bad at something before getting any good at it. Okay, so it looks like I didn't really cover the inside with enough primer here. Something to note for later, because that will affect my ability to have paint adhere. Also, slight bit of lumpiness around here where I fixed up the area around the scribing, and there's like a stray line that runs all the way down. I think my scribing tool fell out in the process, or like it slipped or something, and I didn't cover that enough, or I just kind of tried sanding it down and didn't sand it a lot. One or the other, I don't remember which. It's been a while. What's kind of funny about a lot of Gundam designs, or at least kits, is that left and right parts are actually back and forward identical. Like, they're actually 100% identical. Beyond just being mirror images of each other, they're actually interchangeable. Like, there's nothing that separates this left shoulder from this right shoulder. They are actually the same. Well, you it sounds a little funny when I say it that way, but I think one problem with getting good at things is either giving up too early because you just decide, oh, I'm bad at this thing, why should I even bother investing any time or effort into it? Or getting paralyzed by the fear of failure, like deciding that it's not worth pursuing something just because you can't do it perfectly. So like, yeah, it's important to be okay with being bad, because being okay with being bad helps get over these two sort of hurdles. Why can't I find one of these pieces? Oh, because I put it over here. That's a light piece. Okay, so what do I need right now? I need the little winglet type embellishments for the shoulders. So there's 4 of these to find. This will get progressively faster as I get closer to finishing, because there will be less and less pieces I need to find. A big part of this project, other than it being an experiment with building a base and weathering, is that this was also a lot of scribing practice for me. Not only the technique of scribing, but deciding how I want to draw those lines. So if you look at this shoulder, for instance, all of these lines on top, I scribed those. I also added this part, which is like a gap in the armor. Okay, so one thing that I guess I didn't realize before when I was airbrushing this part was that some bits of these wing-like embellishments will be visible from above. So I need to go back and prime that better later. Okay, shoulders done. Now for the upper arm and the rest of the arm. I think it's this. Okay, this is the point where there is some difference between left and right. There's someone rank 128 one day after. They're playing non-stop. And did they... Is it a bell macro because they joined you or something? I was like, if they're not joining you, otherwise you would not see them out in the wild, right? Which makes it even crazier because it's a bell macro and not just a play with your alt sort of thing, which I think would be a lot easier to pull off. It's okay. I don't even feel like ranks in World Flipper even do that much. They're just a representation of how much time you've put into the game, and that's about it. Okay, I think this goes like that. I hope. Are these identical? B10, B11. No, B2, B2. Okay, these are identical. They're just reversed. Or... Okay, it's like this. the fun thing about me assembling this is that after assembling it, I will have to completely disassemble it again. And it will be the second time I have completely assembled this kit and disassembled it. This piece is also one that I did a lot of scribing on. It originally had no scribe marks at all. Looks like I need to do a bit more filling for some of the holes on this side though. Okay, forearms. So this is the really one of the really bad parts for me, or one of the parts that turned out really poorly, and you can tell this thing is not supposed to be visible at all. This was supposed to be a hole that I filled in because this kit originally came with holes for pegs, but I don't want to use those pegs at all because it's for weapons that I will not be building, so I decided to fill in the holes. Unfortunately, these did not fill in very well, and that's because I was using Tamiya putty that has a lot of shrinkage. So instead of using the putty, I'm gonna fill this in with some CA glue or cyanoacrylate. I'm gonna actually look that up. Cyano. It basically super glue. I'm gonna fill it in with super glue later. I don't know if we'll get to it on this stream, and I'm not sure if I'll probably show it. But what I'm not sure of is how much streaming time I'll have this weekend. First, there's a bit of work that I want to catch up on, and second, my sister is back in town. Those macarons I made were for her birthday later, and I might hang out with her. I might just want to be not busy with streaming during that time, so I might not be streaming too much and putting this off while I do some other things. Where's the other half? Oh, I separated one of them up there earlier. I can't find one. Oh, there it is. Okay. What were we talking about second time? One thing that's important to see here is with moving parts like this, whether or not the paint is scratching off important places. Also, one thing that's kind of weird about this kit is that this entire forearm like slides right off. Like there's nothing that prevents it from doing that as far as I can tell, other than adding the hands on at the end. So I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do here. Like, do I just glue it on later so that it doesn't do that? Is that the play? It's very bizarre because usually Gundam kits don't have anything like that going on. Like for the most part, this forearm does not go anywhere. I don't want it to, but then sometimes it does. Very weird. Oh, second time. So, yes, before this stream series began, what I do with most kits is I will cut all the pieces out and build it once, just to see how everything fits together. Then I take it apart and then I start doing the detail work, like describing and such. And the reason I put it together the first time is to like, again, to see how all the parts fit together, but also sometimes to see how some things might slide against each other and such. So I know where I can probably, or where I should make a bit more space and things like that. Glue always sucks. Glue always feels bad. Glue feels like a commitment. I guess I have commitment issues, but once you glue something, there's no going back. Or rather, it is extremely difficult to go back. Are these hands actually different styles? These thumbs look like they've been carved differently, which is very weird because they use the same back. Why was it done like this? Okay, the ball joint for this hand probably could do with more paint. Glue solves all the problems except the problem of using glue. Doesn't making it all gray make it look kind of majestic? Like, all the details really pop because all the shadows are really obvious when it's a single color. There's a part of me that wants to at some point do a build and just cover it entirely with primer, panel line it, and then call it a day. I think that'd be kind of a neat display piece of sorts. Okay, time to start the feet. And this is where we get the magnetized foot as well. Where is it? There it is. I wonder why it tells me to start building the feet before building the waist. Like skipping from the middle section to the bottom. I haven't seen these parts in at least a month or two because I started working on other projects while waiting for the weather to get warm enough to paint. So it's funny seeing some of these scribes, some of the scribing, like, ooh, that actually was pretty good. I forgot I did this. Like, this hit. I feel really good about how the scribing turned out on this hit. Like, the only line this piece originally had was this line that separates the top half from the bottom half. So like, all of these I added. A full, sometimes full white, gray, and black builds look really good too. That's like the near color scheme. Mostly black though. I don't know if a near color scheme. Yeah, I think it could be a pretty good color scheme to do. Okay, I think I got most of the pieces that I need for now to start putting this together. Okay. I guess in some sense this is faster to put together than a brand new kit. This feels like it's going really quickly and smoothly, and I think that's because finding a piece and then picking it out of the pile seems to be a lot less effort than finding the piece even on a labeled sprue and then cutting it out and then putting it together. The whole process of cutting it out adds a lot of extra time. Okay, so one of these has a shaved bottom, and that's because it's to make space for the magnet. So this one has its peg shaved away. So this will fit. I am actually really excited to see how this kit turns out. I think it's my best scribing work yet, but it still needs a little bit of cleanup on some bits, but the overall feel of the scribing is something I'm pretty proud of so far. Okay, next page. Okay, now it's time for the shins. What's kind of amusing is that like Gundams have really fat shins. Like, why is that? Why is so much of their leg in their shins? Where's the love for the thighs or like most any other part of the body? It feels like they have abnormally large shins, which makes their legs feel overall abnormally large, and on top of that, Gundam arms are actually really tiny. Look at this. This shin is about as tall as this guy's arm. Actually, almost not just as tall, it's almost as big overall as the arm. What is up with that? Also, one of the modifications I did to this kit is I shaved off the end of the shin. So like if you look here, the back of the ankle has, I guess, like a guard or something. I took it off. It's gone. Goodbye. Because it was getting in the way of moving and posing the kit. So I did away with it. Okay, where's the other half? Here's the other half. Uh-oh. Is it fitting in the right place? Not quite. Alright. See you later, Azu. Okay, let's see. Time for the thighs. Where, oh where is the piece I seek? Here it is. Alright. Seems like it's pretty dusty on the inside of this piece. Fortunately, this is like an inside facing piece, so it might not matter too much. I will try to refrain from any touch-up work today on these pieces, at least until we're done assembling, because I don't know how much time we have for that, honestly. Since the stream today started pretty late, I don't have that much time to stream. It also looks like I gave this piece reasonable space for movement without scratching paint. I wonder what sort of black magic everyone else employs while working on kits, because no one seems to ever talk about making space so that their parts properly move past each other without scratching up the paint job. Everyone just acts like they can spray thin enough layers of paint that don't ever get scratched, and that's perplexing to me because like the tolerances of the Gundam parts are so tight. Like, there are definitely a lot of spaces where the parts are definitely scraping up against each other as they move past each other, and that means they were not made with having space for paint in mind. Even though they totally know that people paint their kits. I heard a clicky scratchy noise. Is that the sound of paint getting chipped there? Oh, I can see the texture of the finish on the paint here changing. It's because it's scraping against the inside of this armor piece. That's fine. If that happens at this point, that is totally fine, because this part of the process is for the sake of finding these sort of issues, so that we can try to correct them before we commit to painting. Wait, oh, okay. I am at the point where I've panicked twice now today, thinking I lost a piece, but it's right here. Okay, I missed some primer on the inside there. knees. And then the ankles. If that's the right leg, that means what's front facing? This side is front facing? Am I going to want glue to fix this seam later? Maybe. Yeah, I could actually fuse these pieces together right now. Like, as soon as I'm done with the full assembly, I think I'm gonna apply some cement in this gap and fuse these pieces together and then just pop off the other pieces because they don't need to. They're not in the way at all. I can easily remove the other pieces to do that. Okay, and this is why I removed those parts, so I can have this amount of posability. Oh crap, I did forget a piece though. This is why we can't actually fuse them together just yet, probably. Oh, okay. That's just why it's weird. This part just gets popped in. I don't want to pop it in. I don't like doing it that way because that's going to scratch paint. But this just pops in. Well, we are almost done with the legs, Mr. Viewer. And it's showing off why I cut off extra bits so that I can move this ankle a lot more. Now we're gonna pop this ankle guard in. How was dinner? What was the food? Okay, now we got a pair of legs. Look at how much of the body is leg. It's like 50% leg. I don't think that's normal human proportions. Fortunately, this ain't a human, but still. Okay, time to do the waist. Oh, here's a fun thing. Okay, so the front of the waist has these skirt pieces, and usually in HG kits, high grade 1/144 kits, the two front halves of the skirt, or I guess they're a quarter of the skirt overall. Anyway, the two front parts of the skirt are usually fused together in a single piece of plastic, but I went and cut them apart. So they're separate here. There's one of them. Where's the other one? It's part of the pieces I need. Here's another part. Where's the other half of the skirt? Here's the back. Thought this was oh, there we go. Found it. Okay. Rice, beans, lettuce, and beef. Sounds like a very complete meal with everything you could want in it. Man, Azu, Ever since we were talking about making a thumbnail for this stream and we saw that other kit, I've been thinking about that kit, constantly thinking, I want it, but I can't afford it. I don't even know how much it is. I'm just not buying any kits right now. Same. You also want that kit, Azu? It totally does look better than this kit, right? Oh, did you install your new parts already today, Azu? I didn't do any scribing for these side skirt pieces. I was not able to decide what to add to them. At the end of the day, I just kept it the way it was. This back, also pretty happy with the scribing on the back here. For one thing, all the scribing back here is everything below the bottom half, I guess. So like these panels and this thing on this tail end here, which is like 5 panels, I guess. I like it because they're not just strictly rectangular. Actually, none of these are strictly rectangular, and that makes it fun. Yes. Alright, now to assemble this legs. Leg. So one thing that I've seen people often do when assembling painted kits is to cover parts with paint. Did he remember to properly apply thermal paste? Wasn't there like an issue with him assembling before and not doing that properly or something? What was I saying? Yes, masking tape. But that's not necessary here because I don't care if this surfacer gets scratched, because that's part of well, everything's gonna get touched up anyway, and I also might scratch some things along the way when I disassemble, because usually it takes a lot of force to disassemble. I'm also pushing really hard to join the waist. Okay, the body is complete. Looking pretty good. Okay, now we gotta do the backpack, the wing sword thingies. So this part, first of all, tells us to assemble these two halves. I already did that. I did that and painted over it. Then we gotta do these embellishments. I don't remember how these go. This looks right. This is right. Okay. So, does this mean you're able to function normally again? You don't need my help? anymore? Are we good? All we got out of that escapade was one outing where I got to make a fool of myself in Genshin Impact and torture you a little bit with the English voice acting. They came together? Oh, that's super interesting. How did you buy them already together? Or how did your family buy them together for you? Also, really nice that they helped you replace your computer parts when you were very sad about your computer not working. Also, it looks like it completely missed an area while priming this. What the heck? Oh, he did it anyway. Cool. I hate these parts because they don't fit together like normal parts. So I can't tell how far I'm supposed to push them in. I just need to know if I need to help you anymore. Is this the piece? No, that's not the piece. This is the piece. No, not quite the piece. Is this the piece? This has to be the piece. I'm running out of options. Eh? Where's the last piece? Thinking. Oh, okay, fell onto my lap. Alright, freaking out a little bit over a missing piece just now. Wait. Okay, just moving my lamp around a little bit. Okay, so I think this just gets... figure out which side these go on. Is it this one? No, so it's this one. There's so many gaps. They look so weird. I feel like these parts should meet up perfectly, but they don't. And it's driving me a little crazy. Okay, now which piece goes where? So the pieces without a top half are the ones that get the tab. Like that, there's the tab. Because I think, yeah, it wouldn't fit otherwise. Okay, let's move those out of the way and turn the pit. Yeah, wait a second. I need to add in the sword hilt. Which way does it go? The other way around? I don't think it really matters too much, but sure. Looks kind of the same both ways, not gonna lie. As long as they mirror each other, I think it's good. Okay, next page. We are nearing the end. I think once I finish this, I'll just show off the base a little bit, and then I'll end the stream there. Because I think my sister is home. I'm gonna go say hi. And might as well call the stream at that point, I think. Okay, this piece is also extremely weird. So it has this one moving socket, joint socket. That's fine, that's not the weird part, though it does pose a little bit of a scratching issue. The weird part is that the top half of this piece is loose. It's like, it doesn't actually have a peg to keep it together. Instead, it's kept together by this other piece that clips it together, essentially. I hate that because that means it depends on friction, and this is a moving piece, so this piece will constantly be pressing up against the top half of this piece, this other part, to keep it together, while also moving, which means it'll scratch any paint between them. I'm going to need to glue this together later so that that's less of an issue. But it's going to be a weird process because it has an inside part here, this moving joint, which also needs to be painted. So probably the two halves will be painted. This inside part will be painted. And then I will try to fuse the parts together using some cement or glue. And then it'll be painted again to cover up the seam line that will come out of it. I think that's the way I'm going to go about it. But yeah, terrible. That's a terrible design decision right there. Ugh. That sounded like the sound of paint coming off. Also, it's not even clipping them together that well. They're still kind of not aligned. Yeah, you can really tell if I hold it like this. You can tell that the top doesn't match up. Like, what the heck? And this one was not the best decision. Okay, this pops in. Funny part about this is that because this little nub will end up on the inside of this thruster, I need to paint it a different color so it matches the inside of the thruster. Okay, we're almost there. So then this goes in. And this also goes in here. And now we can mount the swords on the back. It's like sword wings. Okay, this one goes here. And this should fold over. What's kind of cool is that the gap in the swords is a hole for the heat exhaust. So they peek out in between the swords. I also need to make sure that there's enough space for these parts when they meet up with each other, or else they will scratch the paint. So those might need a little bit of sanding to be safe later. Which way does this go? Okay. Wait a second. Where do these attach to? Oh, okay. The backpack's already on the kit. Alright, so put this to the last part. The swords are inside facing, I guess. So goes like this. Pop. Pop. Okay, the kit is now done, so let me move the camera so we can see the whole thing. Okay, first of all, here's the whole kit in a sort of close-up way. I like totally missed the primer on that one wing, like what the heck. But here's the fun thing about this kit. The back is so heavy that it will fall back. But let me change the focus of the camera real quick. Hello, autofocus. Oh, it actually stands normally like that somehow. Amazing. Where's my other light? Let me grab one more light so we can see this better. Yeah, it's really bad at standing. I'm surprised it's standing. Oh, okay, yeah. And like, this is the most boring pose because I like these wings kind of like pointing back or a little bit more outward facing. Because I don't like them hugging the body. And at this point, if they're back at all, like it's impossible for it to stand correctly. Yes, this is another kit that can't stand on its own. So like, the only way this will stand is if it leans forward really weirdly like this. Also not cheating. Like, for a second I was holding the foot, but no. Yeah, so it's like really awkward. This is like really stiff shoulders sort of pose. Terrible, not a good pose. How did I pose it before? So what is that piece of dust there? That looks like chipped paint. Fun. Okay. Okay, so, oh my goodness, it's standing. Anyway. Yeah, I can't stand. That is failing the test because I don't want a kit that can barely stand correctly, because if there's ever any shaking, it will fall over and break or have the paint scratched. So this is where the base comes in. Remember, this base has a magnet on the bottom. Also remember, I made a mess on the bottom so it doesn't wobble. It still has a slight bit of wobble, but it's a lot better, and I think this is an acceptable amount of wobble now. Let's put it up here. So now we can magnetically attach it to this, and now it won't fall. And this is cool because I wanted to do a kit that could do a standing pose, because most of my kits have to be mounted to something, and that creates a different sort of pose that works for it. But now I can do a pose where the Gundam is standing, just standing. Also, it's capable of hanging completely upside down off the base. The base is an absolute mess right now. It needs some work. What we're going to do later is cut off the edges, like the excess material coming out the sides. We're never going to see the bottom, so we're going to pretend that doesn't exist, though I might need to fill in the edges a little bit. I'm probably going to do that off stream because it's just sticking some putty in and then waiting for it to dry. It's a lot of waiting for it to dry. But ultimately I want to do a pose sort of like this, where it's just kind of beckoning. No, it's too heavy. Oh, it's not supposed to bend there. Okay, I was trying to bend a way that it's not supposed to bend. That's scary, because I was basically trying to break it just now. There goes a hand. Okay. Here's a challenge for next time. Give me like a pose you want me to try to emulate. It has to be a standing pose because it has to be on this base. But it can be any sort of pose, and you're probably gonna give me a JoJo pose, but like, let's see if I can get a good pose down. Try to figure out what the final pose will look like, so it will help with deciding how we might paint it. Yeah, okay, so this is the progress so far. I might do some... Yeah, you know what, I'll try not to do any touching up on the kit itself until the next stream. I will instead maybe add a little bit more material to the base switch turns out to be really dusty because I forgot there was a bunch of paint dust on the inside of this paint booth. So that's a mess that will need to be addressed later. But yeah, this is looking pretty decent so far. Alright, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope to see you next time on this project's journey towards completion. Autofocus is failing me right now. What a disappointment. Okay, anyway. Wing Gundam Honoo says goodbye. See y'all later. Have a good weekend. Bye bye.